Alright, the motor is in. It was a little bit of a bearcat, but project. I probably have, I don't know, 40, 50 hours into it. Kind of stumbling my way through it, but it's done. First drive. Got really good oil pressure, way better than I used to. Introduction to the project. I have a 94 F-150 XLT with a 5.0 and the E40D transmission, and it's kind of been a money pit. I got it cheap, and I've just put tons of work into it. So found out afterwards that it had a leaky or a spot that it was rusted through on the axle sleeve and leaking just a little bit. I ended up actually bending the axle after putting a bunch of weight in there. So it has a new, quote, new axle from a donor. It had a rebuilt transmission in it when I bought it. I swapped it over to the manual floor shift because I spent an enormous amount of time trying to get the electric one to consistently work, and it wouldn't. It had a just totally rusted out, like half gone core support, so that's new. And the front shock, can't remember what they call these, boot or whatever, was rusted out real bad, so I totally redid that. All new brakes, mostly brake lines are new. Jojo, come here. Come on. Stay away from the road. So, all that done, it's always had just a tiny bit of a slight miss, so I've chased all over the EFI system, the gas system, spark, pulled injectors, new gaskets, all kinds of stuff, and haven't been able to find anything. So, kind of the bad news then pops up more recently when I start hearing some engine knock, and after further investigation, turns out my thrust bearing's worn pretty extensively, probably rod knock or something. So unfortunately the engine's kind of a goner. I maybe could get it rebuilt. That's gonna end up costing me $1,000. I could get a reman short block and put it in. That's gonna cost me $1,000. Everything was gonna cost me $1,000, and it's just kind of a yard work hunting truck. So here's the plan. The plan is I was able to pick up a 93 F-150 extended cab 2-wheel, still has the E40D, and it has the i6 300 5 or 4.9, whatever you want to call it, inline 6. This truck's got 130,000, that one has 140, and the transmission has a bad seal in that one. It's a little bit more of a beat up truck. But the plan is to, and I got it super cheap, like after I do this swap I'll probably be able to sell a couple the fenders and some other body parts and make my money back. Jojo, come here, stay away from the road. So I'm gonna swap the 4.9 into this truck, which most people swap it the other way, but I think I'll enjoy the hopeful longevity of the i6. I don't really tow very much with this, and if I do, it's just around town, so I don't need the highway towing capabilities of the 5.0 or the 5.8. So I'll have to pull the motor, radiator, engine wiring harness, ECM, and switch all those out from the 5.0 to the 4.9. So that's what this video series is going to be about, and I'm just going to take some short videos going through it. Not a lot of people have done it this way. A lot of people have swapped a 5.0 into a 4.9, but that's kind of the plan as far as that goes. I'm encouraged with the donor truck. It started right up and ran fine. You did have to crank it a little bit, so I suspect it's got maybe a bad fuel pressure regulator. we'll see why it had to. I mean, it was only like 15 seconds or 10 seconds, maybe not even that long. Longer than you should have to though. And I went ahead and pulled the plugs. It's bent, they definitely need replaced, but even wear, and they looked, I mean, they were pretty worn, but they looked okay. And broke 2 wires pulling it off, and also the coil has damage on it, so that'll probably even help it run better, but it actually ran pretty good. Previous owner said it doesn't leak any oil. Once I got it home, I compression tested it, and it was all like 160, between 155 and 165 for PSI on the cylinders. So should, hopefully, that means my head gasket's good, my rings are good. It's a good indication that the heart of the motor is good. So that's the plan. Next time you see me, I'm going to start pulling the 300 out of the donor truck. The plan's to pull that out, all the harness, everything out of there, and then I'll freshen it up a little bit. Just a new oil pump, water pump. I think I'm going to leave the timing in there. It has a timing gears instead of a chain or a belt. And supposedly they last a long time, so I'm just going to leave those alone. Probably new rear main seal and the front seal. The oil pan on the donor truck has a little rust spot where oil's weeping through, so I got a new oil pan for it. Pickup and oil pump, I already mentioned that. I think the valve cover has a little leak, so I'll probably do that as well. And then just a regular tune-up, plugs, wires, that kind of stuff. Obviously all new fluids. And we'll see. This truck's got a new alternator, thermostat, and some different stuff, and it looked, comparing parts, that they'll swap in, so I might swap some of the it also has a new power steering pump on this, and it was whining on the other one, so probably swap some of that stuff over as well. So that's the plan. Next time I take a video, I'll probably be draining fluids and starting to disconnect stuff on the donor truck. All the radiator stuff out, pulling this fan, all the air filter stuff, battery pulled, so I'm just